back to Am I Doing This Wrong? Podcast where two millennials chat about basically everything regarding adulthood. I'm your host, Morgan.
And I'm your other host, Ryann.
And we just want to throw out our disclaimer as usual. We are not doctors, we are not experts, and not really authorities on much. So we are just here to chat.
Yeah, we're not even authorities on our own life. So we're literally trying to figure it out as we go. This is a form of therapy, I think, right? This is therapy, right?
Therapy for sure.
Yeah.
I'll check with my therapist. I'll let you know. We'll
Please
see what she says.
Yes. And then we can bill each other, right? Is that how that works? Okay,
right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Save a little money on that health insurance.
I know. Yeah. All right. Well, we are jumping back into our topic of body hair. So welcome back to part 2. I know you guys couldn't get enough. We have tons of good little tidbits to go over and probably some personal information you may or may not want to hear.
I know, right? You couldn't get enough of my big hairy bush, and it's still there. It's still growing. It's thriving, right? It's the best plant I've ever had. I told
you. Well, speaking of bush in general, let's talk about pubic preferences. So let's talk about some stats on what people like regarding their downstairs. So 56% said their preference was trimmed. So majority of women prefer that their partner be trimmed. So that's what the ladies like. They don't want no hair down there on their partner.
So then Dorm Boy from last episode,
Let's bring it
who
back.
told me that I needed to trim, he was very explicit. It wasn't, you need to shave. It wasn't, you need to like be bare. Yeah. He did ask for trim. He did.
I mean, that makes sense. Okay. Well, apparently 28% prefer hairless. So Brazilian, take it all off. And this majority of the percentage was men prefer their partners to be hairless. So in that sense, Dorm Boy is actually, outside of the majority.
Hey, that's true. He's a little bit progressive, right? Like he's, he's above the curve. He's above his other male counterparts.
Right.
He's like, no, you don't need to be 7 years old. You can be like 16, like,
yeah.
I'm okay with a little
puberty, bit. Like he wants to question, like.
Yeah.
Okay, that got weird. All right. So, no preference. So majority with no. Now we don't have a percentage for this one. I just thought this was funny. Majority with no preference were Democrat or independent. So I don't know what the exact questionnaire looked like for this survey, but people did specify where they stand as far as political parties. And
interesting.
Who don't have a preference on body hair or upkeep of the pubic area were Democrats or independents. So and we have some other political preferences coming up. So
okay, so that's interesting because. Yeah, where was this survey where people were like, I'm a Democrat, I prefer hair, and like this is my age group. Like what was this survey? Where was this? What grad student was like, let me find out for my dissertation, for my defense, what it's looking like out there between Democrats and Republicans. Like, who cares? I mean we care, obviously, but
I mean, we do care. It's we're putting it in here, but this is coming from a dermatologist clinic that did a survey in 2018 in Illinois. So that's who,
Okay. Well, yeah, the people in Illinois are very, very concerned about, your political party. And if you go to like one of those events, right, like they know what to expect, right? Like the expectation is that if you walk into a Republican party of some sort, you better be ready to hook up, and you better have had your Brazilian like the day before, right? Because you need to be
like before a
bare.
Republican rally, the waxing studios are just booked. You know what I mean? They're just like filled up. No space.
Yeah. No space and no hair. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So, all right. So 9% prefer natural.
Okay.
And
let it grow.
Yeah, they don't mind. 2% prefer shaped. And a majority who preferred shaped were Republicans. So
that doesn't surprise me. They want to control everything. They're just like they're like, your body, my choice, right? Like, that's like that's the slogan of their entire like idea of what this country should be. Just let us choose for you. We actually know better than you. Mainly because we all went to the same schools and had the same teachers. So we all like know better than you, obviously. Let us choose. Right. And then you have like the Democrats that are like, we don't care. We're just like here just for like world peace
and like have, autonomy.
Yeah, have autonomy, but not socialized healthcare. But yeah, autonomy, sure.
Well, you're gonna love another stat we have in a bit here, but let's talk about deal breakers. Okay. So we know people's preferences. We know what Democrats and Republicans are looking for. So deal breakers. So 35% say that yes, it is a deal breaker if their hookup partner, whomever's grooming habits aren't aligned with their preferences. So 35% would like cut things off, end a hookup, go home, rub one out on their own versus getting it in, whatever the case may be. They're saying not going to happen.
I mean, I have to support someone that's like strong in their views. You know what I mean? Like as another very opinionated person who literally started a podcast because of all the opinions that she has. As that person, I would say that, I get why, like if you have those preferences in your mind and you're like, look, because it also depends like how sexual and intimate you're going to get, right? Like if you're talking about sex as in like oral sex, 69 and over here doing everything, like all of it, then okay, then I get it, right? Like you're going to care a little bit more about those habits. Right. However, in my experience, guys are not planning on going down on girls. Like they are more so concerned with them being trimmed because they want you to go down on them. So I mean, again, of course I'm speaking in like the gender binary. Obviously there's a lot of people that don't live within that realm, but I'm just saying for a typical, like you're talking about male versus female hookup, I would say that, I'm okay with people being okay with it. Now, you really leaving like the situation if somebody isn't shaved down there, I call bullshit on that. I don't know if I believe that.
And I was about to say, I take this stat with a grain of salt because I think sitting in an office filling out a survey is going to be a lot different than getting back home with a hookup and you're rolling around making out, doing whatever, and then they take their pants off and you're just gonna like get up and leave.
Right, exactly.
Like, probably a little skewed.
They pull down their pants and like the jungle comes out. I mean, but see, that's the thing. Like, I could understand that a little bit more if it were like really intense and maybe you just have like some weird thing about it. I don't know. I think that's the problem with the concept of like body hair is that we accept it. It's socially acceptable some places, right? Like a girl could have hair, on her head down to like her kneecaps. Mm-hmm. And that's socially acceptable, right? And it's deemed as like beautiful and healthy. Well, why can't my pubic hair be just as long? I mean, not that it would ever get there. I've tried. I've tested this, and it doesn't get there. It'll never reach my kneecaps. Lucky for all you boys at home, no. And girls. The girl in Cabo really liked it. Anyway, but I'm just saying it's just interesting because the preference is where does that? You know what I mean? Like it just seems like it's like some type of weird control thing more than actually having to do with like the actual hair. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. It's more about like cultural stereotypes You know, a guy with long hair might be perceived a certain way, you know what I mean? But like you said, a woman with a full bush is perceived, or underarm hair that grows naturally, that she doesn't mind shaving or not shaving.
Right.
These have cultural meaning more so than, you know, actually just the hair being on your body.
Right, exactly. That's much more of a cultural norm. And that actually brings me to, if I could just interject a little thing that I wanted to bring up. Somebody that I follow on Instagram, her name is Letitia KY. I'll spell her name so that you can follow her. LAETITIA, and then just KY, like she has it in capital letters for some reason. I don't know if that's her name. That's what she goes by. But that's her name, Letitia KY. And she is like basically like some type of like hair artist, I would say. I've been following her for a few years now, and she actually makes art out of her dreadlocks. So she has like really long dreadlocks. And I think she like also keeps like any dreadlocks that may have fallen off of her head. She keeps those. And then she like creates art on the top of her head with it. And so it's really interesting. I showed you like a few of the pictures before.
They're super cool. Go follow.
Very cool.
It was very interesting. Yeah, very talented.
Right. It was super interesting. And I thought the most interesting part about her is that she posts, you know, all different types of pictures. But if she has her arms lifted for any reason, or, you know, or if it's a full body photo where she might be like almost nude, she has very thick body hair, just like the hair that grows out of her head, right? And she will get, you know, so many hate comments like, you know, like, what is this? Like, why do you, you know, why don't you like trim more? Like, you obviously don't keep yourself up. People call her things like she's dirty and she's not like unkept and not clean, right? All these things we attach to certain parts of the body that have hair that is quote unquote unwanted, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think that that is so interesting because this person literally creates art with her hair, right? She creates it. And yet for some reason, when it's in like not the socially accepted space on her body, it's like a whole different situation. And she's like all these like really ugly, nasty things, right? And so it's just super interesting because I love that she challenges it all the time. She'll like post those comments, or she'll just like take a photo with her arms up, you know, just like, hey, this is me. Like the same hair that you appreciate that I can create beautiful things with off of my head is the same hair that comes off of my body everywhere, right? And so she just really stands up for that because I think it's beautiful, right? Like she has this like wonderful gift to do beautiful things with her hair. But she also respects the rest of her hair and the body, you know, and where it grows on her body. So I just thought that was super interesting. I think that she's like someone that everyone should follow just to like really get a different perspective on why body hair is such this weird, controversial, hot topic, right? My mom still is not over my armpits. And I'm like, Mom, they're mine. Like you... Right. I don't know what to tell you. Like, you know, it is what it is. But
yeah,
I thought it was really interesting.
Her. No, that is. And that's really true. So check her out for sure. So back to our deal breakers. So top deal breakers, 70% natural and 30% hairless. Then there were some funny stats after that. In the mountain region, 59% say hairless is a deal breaker. Mountain region. They want natural. You know what I mean? They're like, it's cold. It's cold. We have to layer up. That includes your pubes.
So wait, you're saying so only very true. But I'm just making sure. So you're saying only 30% prefer hairless, meaning that 70%, the majority, prefer whatever cushion that you have, including the hair from your pits.
No, sorry, I should have been more specific.
Okay.
70% said natural was a deal breaker.
30%
said hairless was a deal breaker.
What? So Mountain Joe,
they want you trimmed, they want you shaped, they want anything but natural growth. And then on the flip side, 30% say hairless is a deal breaker. So yes, in the mountain region, 59% say that hairless is a deal breaker.
Wow. That's really upsetting, especially when your underarm hair actually could serve a purpose, like a really, really good purpose of like warming your body and keeping your extremities warm. Like, I've lived in California all my life, so I don't know why I ever needed my armpit hair as bad as I kept it. However, if I ever went to the mountains, right. if I ever went to the mountains, you will be sure that I will be fully grown everywhere. And my partner will have to search for my vagina, but we'll both be warm. Right. He'll be warm down there. Yeah. I'll be warm the entire time. You know what I mean? It's like walking down with your own, walking around with your own personal like little hot pocket down there. It's like it's a literal hot pocket.
It is. Now that's a visual. Thank you so much. So 4% of men on this survey who go natural say that natural is a deal breaker. So do with that what you will. 4% of men who say they go natural are part of the 70% that say natural on their partner is a deal breaker.
Interesting.
Yeah. So quite hypocritical there.
And that makes, exactly. It's very hypocritical, very ironic.
Yeah. But back to our last episode, what was the percentage of men that were influenced by porn? You know what I mean? So
that's a good point.
It does kind of tie in together if you think about it that way.
Right. No, that's a really good point. And too, the thing is, again, I think honestly, up until maybe this survey was, taken by these men, until they actually came to terms with the fact that they don't have any preferences for themselves, but they have all these standards, right? That women or, whoever their significant other should have, because we're not just talking about heterosexual couples, right? We're not only talking about straight couples. Right. We're talking about just men in general. These men could be any type of men that are pursuing any type of partner, right? And so the reality is that I think a lot of times we have these ideas in our head and these kind of, notions about what our partners should be. Right. But in reality, like we said, right, when you're in real life and you meet somebody that you're having a great night with, or that you're attracted to sexually, if you go home with that person and they check off all of the boxes, right, they're attractive and they're funny and they're interesting, and once you get down to their pubic hair, that's gonna be what's oh no, you were great and all. I had a wonderful date with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you want kids and it's all perfect, but your pubes, how could you?
How could
you? such a heartbreak, you know what I mean?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about accidents. So where do the most accidents happen with shaving? Which, ouch, 1, 2, have had a few myself. I'm sure you have. Razor burn. It's just, I'm Italian, the hair is thick. My body hair is thick.
Very true.
It's quite the undertaking. So for women, the most accidents happen on their legs, which, we're shaving our legs a lot.
Yeah.
The pubic area, which, ouch, yikes.
Ooh.
Don't want to think about that. And eyebrows, which, who hasn't had an eyebrow disaster in their life?
The entirety of the 2000s was an eyebrow disaster. So, if you were born before 1990 or, between that era,
yes,
you were looking like an eyebrow disaster,
right.
Yeah.
And that
it was all
affects you for the rest of your life. If you over tweeze, it's hard to come back from that.
Oh, so true.
Sometimes the hair doesn't grow back the way it was before.
I know. So. But that's really interesting, right? Because I feel like I could have all the Brazilians in the world and that my pubic hair would still be there just marching. This is the last place. I feel like that's the last place I'm going to have hair. I'm going to go bald. I'm going to be receding hairline, but my bush is going to be top notch, the curliest, I just feel like it's not going to go anywhere. Which also, I didn't know that you gray in your pubic area as well, which is super interesting to me.
Is it interesting or is it horrifying? Have you gotten... I'm coming from my perspective. This is personal. It is a beautiful thing to get older and to age. I am not saying that. But have you gotten any grays yet?
In my pubic area,
Yes.
or just like in general?
In your pubic area.
No, but I have gained weight, so I can't really see all of my pubic hairs the same way I could before. So I don't really know. Like, that's one thing, like, this last year during COVID, I was like, I used to be able to see everything. You know what I mean? Like, when I said Ben, like, helps me shave down there, Ben is my partner. For everybody out there, Ben is my partner. He helps me shave down there. And yes, it's because he prefers a little bit lower trim, right? And don't think he's like misogynistic or anything like that. Listen to the last episode if you don't know what I'm talking about. However, I also just don't have the same view that I had a year ago. Like, I used to look down and I feel like I knew exactly like the lengths. I knew the peaks and valleys. I knew everything, you know,
Right.
But I look down now and I see more hair on my belly button than I do on my pubic area. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah.
I went and saw Nicole Byer, the comedian, for anyone who's never heard of her, but you know, she's famous, so you know. But I went and saw her this weekend, and she has a joke where she's like, I was gonna hook up, I was on the apps, I was like trying to find some dick, and so I hop in the shower and I'm like, okay, gotta shave my pussy. And then she's like, I got through half of it and I was like, huh, maybe this is like a 2-shower job, you know? So I feel
So
that.
true.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
Yes, no, that's so true. I think because like the initial is like, it's just like, you know, it's like you're cleaning out like a hoarder's house or something. You know what I mean? Like, you got to get all the junk out, but once the junk is out, it's still a mess. You know, you're
Right.
like, this is almost worse because now you see everything that was being covered. You know what I mean?
Right. You get through the top layer and your razor's so full that you're like, how I have to change razors. What if you don't have a spare? Like,
Yeah.
you really have to do some forethought before you take on this endeavor, you know?
No, that's very true. Like, if you've just been letting it grow, letting it flow, being natural, like being one with nature, I'm telling you right now, you better not be scrolling through the apps before you have done like some weed whacking, okay?
Yeah.
Because it is a jungle down there, my friend. Okay, you're going to have to cut down the trees to see the forest or whatever that old saying is. I don't know, but it's something about trees. And if it's not the trees, it's the forest. And I feel like you probably have both. So you just need to like do a little scaping, little landscaping before you get through those apps.
It's an overhaul. Yeah. So let's get into some just other random facts from the internet on body hair. So one thing I wanted to go over were some reasons for hair loss in general. So I'll just go down the list here. So thyroid issues, pregnancy, medication, alopecia, physical trauma or stress. So try not to be so stressed. Emotional stress, diet, extreme hair care. So
that's a good one.
We have a friend who bleaches his hair like crazy. But not to name names, but
yeah, we have a really, really close friend that is obsessed with dyeing his hair. However, I mean, the care that he has for those blonde strands are it's unbelievable.
It's absolutely. So extreme hair care, infections or autoimmune diseases.
So yeah, I mean, like, that's the thing, right? Like, when it comes to hair loss, I think, or, you know, when you're talking about like less hair, whether it be, you know, on your body or head or whatever, a lot of times you don't consider those factors, right? Because for someone that maybe went through something like crazy traumatic, right, and cannot grow hair, whether it be on their head or somewhere else, they might really cherish having their hair, you know, like, and when it grows back, right? Like, whether it be under their arms, you know, or pubic area, whatever it is, that hair might be, you know, a symbol that they like, you know, overcame something, right? Like that they made it. And so I think that that's why it's very odd that our culture has deemed hair just so so okay and not okay at the same time, right? Like,
right.
even
on
if your hair
head,
isn't,
it's, you know, sacred, but on your body, oh, you know.
right.
But it's, yeah, it's
But
tough
that's
and
also
heavy. I
too,
mean, that's why we're
though,
talking about it, right? Like, what?
right. Well, but also too, like you were saying, like extreme hair care or things like that. So I think some examples would be, you know, like straightening your hair every day to the point where it breaks off.
Yeah.
You know, using like some type of hairstyle to, you know, the point where it puts so much tension on your hair that it ends up like, you know, falling off or whatever like that. But most of those things happen because you're trying to change your hair to meet like a societal standard, right? Like for instance, when I was in high school, I got a flat iron for the first time and I was like, this is all I have to do every day, and then I don't have to deal with my curly hair, which at the time I, you know, obviously didn't have like the understanding of now and loving my curly hair and like realizing that it's just like a portion of or a part of me, you know, and it really is like much more part of my identity than I ever thought it would be. Yeah. But I totally abused like having like you know, a blow dryer and a straightener and like over straightening and like almost like liking the way it looked fried because the more fried it was, the like more straight it was, you know? So it was just kind of like this really weird headspace as a child, right? Like we didn't have conversation about, I mean, general conversations like at school and amongst friends about hair care and right. And like how to take care of your hair. It was like the more fried, the better, you know, like it was like the more, you know, teased that you can get it and the more like, you know, straight that it could be on the ends, like that was like part of the look. But the reality is that everyone's hair, most people's hair is not strong enough to sustain that, right? Like you can't keep doing that.
Yeah, this is the longest my hair has been, and it was only because I was in quarantine. I didn't leave the house for a year, so I stopped blow drying as much. I stopped straightening. I stopped curling as much.
Right.
And yeah, absolutely.
And it looks great. I mean, for the record, if you're listening to this and you can't see this, her hair looks wonderful. And if you're on YouTube, admire.
Wow. Look-see.
Yeah, it's just as long in her pubic area. I'm just saying.
You're in for a treat. Stay till the end. Just kidding.
Yeah, is this OnlyFans or YouTube? Right? I'm pretty sure this is YouTube.
I don't think we can get on OnlyFans anymore.
Oh, well, did you? They're bringing it back. You might explain back so right, yeah. So OnlyFans, like basically said that they were going to ban sexually explicit content. They said that they didn't want like sexually explicit content on their website, even though that is basically the building blocks of their website, right? Like it really is. So they said they didn't want that. And I think literally realizing how many of their, not only their, you know, the consumers, but also like the creators use that content and like make, you know, the majority, if not all of their, you know, income on sex work, right? And so sex work is work. Like we are definitely pro sex work because whatever you would like to do with your body is totally fine. And if you can do it in a way that's even a little bit more safe, I would say, right? Like in sometimes, not all the time, but it could be a lot safer, right? Like you have this virtual platform, you can still gain the same amount of money or if not more, right? Because you can reach more people and you can, in some ways be a little bit more safe, right? You're not like exposing yourself or anybody else to STDs and things like that or sexually transmitted infections, anything like that, right? Like there's just so many reasons why sex work online is a really valid form of a business, right? And OnlyFans basically was like, but we don't need you anymore. Like we've built this like $1 billion platform, but we don't need you anymore. But then I think they just saw the backlash. And so they they recanted it. They were like, oh no, like we're not going to do that in October anymore. So I'm like, whatever.
Like, how did they run the numbers to think taking that off was going to be like, I'm just curious how much money is made from sexually explicit content, you know?
A lot.
Like that has to be the majority of their money. Like making that choice, it's just interesting. I'd like to know the numbers on that. But they're not doing it, so.
Right. Exactly. So
there we go.
Sex workers can continue their work online. But I did want to
YouTube though.
Yeah, I know. But back to this. Yeah. We're not actually going to let you see our vaginas at the end of this.
Yeah.
I don't know if this ruins my teaching career. I might be on OnlyFans a lot sooner than you think. But anywho, yeah, continue.
Oh, yeah, no, I was just going to keep moving down some interesting facts about body hair. So you kind of touched on this earlier, which made me laugh because when I was doing the research, I think I was typing in something like what happens to pubes, and then, Google just suggests a couple things, and it said, what happens to pubic hair after 50? And I was like, great question. I'm very curious. So, of course I had to click. So I was looking through.
Of course.
Yeah. So basically it can become thin, it can become patchy, and then it can fall out altogether. So even though you think that you're going to be buried with the big bush, that's probably not going to be the case.
That's a really good point. Yeah. So that's interesting because, like, for instance, for most women, you will eventually go through menopause. And you won't have your period any longer, right? So you're basically usually it's like mid 50s, right, to 60s. I know it's somewhere around there that you stop having your period. And that's something to look forward to. I'm I don't know if I'll ever retire. Our world is probably gonna go up in flames.
Yeah.
However, I am looking forward to not being worried about my pubic hair anymore. You know what I mean? Menopause, not having a period anymore. These are the things these are the things that you can really look forward to. It's not Social Security. It's not retirement. It's not your 401k, Which, why is it called a 401k? Does everyone just get to $401,000 and then they're like, oh, cool, I have enough to sustain myself? I don't get it.
I have no idea.
Well, no idea. Well, if I reach 401k in my bank account, I guess that's enough to sustain me for the rest of my life.
I don't think so. Not in this economy. Some final fun facts. This says that the more hair equals higher sex drive. More hair can indicate higher levels of testosterone and androgen sensitivity. Alternatively, sparse hair that was previously lush can indicate a hormonal imbalance and lowered libido. So if you feel like you're thinning, if your bush is feeling a little thin, you might want to get your hormones checked. PSA.
I feel like every few months, or I guess every 6 months. No, it's every few months though. I feel like it gets kind of coarse. I don't know, maybe it's been brushing up my against my underwear for too long or something. Yeah. And so I always just thought, I thought it was stunted because maybe that's something that has evolutionary change, right? Because we've been wearing underwear for so long that it's constantly in constricted and right. And friction. So I was thinking that might be an evolutionary change. So before, back when cavemen were I don't know, what did they say? Drawing on rocks or painting rocks? I don't know, whatever they were doing with the rocks.
Yeah.
Back then, the bushes that they drew were aplenty. Okay, they were very aplenty. I'll say that. Okay.
Well, I mean that's a good point about the friction. So my dad's mom, she wore nylon. She wore nylons every day to work, every day for years and years and years. And she just, the hair on her legs stopped growing. It just stopped growing. It just rubbed off so frequently that she didn't have any. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's possible.
Right. So all I need to do is get a tennis racket and just rub it up against my vagina every day. And then my bush will be no longer.
Yeah, let us know if you do that. Yeah, tell the people if that happens. Okay,
that will be my OnlyFans account, Ryann.
I'm sure there's a market for it. You might be opening whole new prospects for yourself.
Right, I know.
Genius idea.
Yeah, we're gonna go viral, not because of our content, but because everyone wants to know: did the tennis racket really change or stunt the growth?
We'll keep you posted.
I know, yeah.
So, this fun fact is not going to be fun for Ryann at all. Tiny bugs live on the eyelash. On our eyelashes, they are called mites. And
Morgan.
If you're not watching the YouTube visual, then Ryann's face is deadpan and she's upset. And she hates bugs with a fiery passion, and she's not happy with this information.
Well, okay, I will say this, and I don't want to know, so you don't have to look up the statistic and get back to me. Okay. However, if there's no mites on my pubic hair, and if they're only on my eyelashes, I still hate them, but they probably serve more of a purpose than I will ever know. Yeah. Because, like your eyelashes, same thing, right? Like now with, like the kind of cultural, like eyelash craze, right? Where like girls are getting like eyelashes, or just people in general, right? Not really necessarily just women. But people are getting eyelashes more, right? And using them more, whether they be like the single use ones or the ones that you can like get refreshed by like an eye or like an eyelash tech.
Yeah, that
right.
Application, yeah.
Right. So with that though, actually it's increasing like the eye infections, because they're messing up like the, whatever, maybe those mites that you have on your eyelashes, but they're basically like, kind of like messing with your eyelash oils and stuff like that. I don't have the exact statistic, but I know that I have seen like a lot of people talk about this like on social media, especially like on Twitter. I've heard like a lot of conversation around girls that get these false eyelashes put on actually end up having like I'm not saying they're like going home with pink eye every night, which that'll be another episode. We'll talk all about how you get pink eye. but it is leading to more infections and just like things with the eyes, because also too, when you have them, if you have like the false eyelashes, you're not supposed to rub your eyes really hard, because obviously you don't want to like mess them up. And so things that you might normally
around it.
Exactly. It's like this whole thing. So, interesting that my bush might be cleaner than some of these eyelashes out here. I'm just saying.
Oh, food for thought.
It's real clean down there. Yeah.
Food for thought. Okay, so two more real quick. This has to do with hair color. So blondes have more estrogen, redheads feel pain more deeply, and bald people seem to have shorter lifespans. So, sorry.
Sorry, redheads are just like empaths. They're just like really sensitive people.
Pain? I think it might be physical.
Redheads are, hold on, I can't leave this. Redheads.
Uh-oh.
Redheads have just been picked on so much that they have just like, that's their evolutionary change. They've just gotten really, really, really hypersensitive because people are just like, you have no soul. And they're like, I do. So they have to prove it. And so they've like overcompensated, and they actually are all empaths. So you know what, redheads out there, I'm rooting for you.
Yeah.
But don't cry. It's okay. It's only a podcast.
Right. Right. Don't come for us. We're here for you. We're just giving us stats. We're just... We're not experts. Again, we repeat.
Very true.
So right, this last one, I made a side note. Seems flimsy. I don't know. But people with more body hair are more intelligent. I mean,
Exhibit A, obviously.
Right. I'll take it. Yeah. The hairy little Italian girl, I'll take it, But there were some notes regarding, well, if people are spending more time studying, then maybe they're spending less time grooming their body hair. So,
yeah, exactly. I've just been reading books so much and, researching body hair so much that I don't even have time to actually groom it. So that's so obviously we've actually realized that we right now are doing this right.
Right. Well, that's great. So that's the question. After all this, are we doing it wrong? According to Ryann, no. We're doing it right.
Hey, the hair doesn't lie, okay? Shakira's hips don't lie. My hair does not lie. That's just the way it is.
That's true. And like we said from the top, a lot of this information was from 2018, the survey that we were looking at. all those stats. So we'd love to know how things are looking, growing, being shaven off in 2021. We would love to know, love to hear from you guys. Check us out on Instagram at Wrong the Podcast. Our YouTube channel will be available for the visual component. Thank you again to the survey that we looked at. That was from...
Well, while you're finding that, shout out to ProBonoASL. Thank you so much for providing the language access and sticking with us through this virtual world. It's been awesome.
Yeah.
But where's the survey from?
Survey from Advanced Dermatology Clinic in Illinois, like we said. It was a really great article, tons of visuals, super helpful, super knowledgeable. Thank you so much.
All about those visuals.
Yeah, I love good visuals. So, we will leave links to our sources in the show notes and in the comments. And we love you guys so much for listening. Thank you so much. And check us out next time for another episode of Am I Doing This Wrong? Please rate, review, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, or check us out on YouTube for the visual conversation.
Yes, please do. Have a wonderful night. Let it grow, let it flow, and we will see you next time. And let it show. And we will see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.